Riikka, Sinivuo, you have a special expertise in working with migrant families. We have a few questions for you about the topic. So what do you think, what kind of effects or consequences there are when one family member becomes sick or have an illness? Are there some risks, problems, or are there also resources or something like that? Please.
Okay, thank you, Mari, to having invited me to talk about this very important topic. I think there are so many consequences and risks, and yes, also those resources and like positive things we need to consider. Of course, it's all very individual, so we can't have like a model to think that when something happens in the family, it's the same consequence, same problems for everybody, but it's very individual. Also, like family thing that not just the persons, the individuals in the family, but the whole family also reacts differently based on their previous experiences, cultural things, and yes, just the personality and characteristics of the people in that family. So that's like the first thing I think we have to remember, that it is very personal, very individual, varies a lot from family to family. So always that idea that we have to talk to this family, that what does this mean to them in their life at this time. And of course, it helps if we have experienced how other families have reacted, but still remembering that each of them is unique and reacts in their own way. So I think that's the first. And then, of course, it depends on what kind of illness we are talking about, if it's something like potentially fatal, or if it's something that requires a lot of, like, for example, having some fractures that are not so severe or dangerous, but it takes a long time maybe to recover, and lots of help is needed for that recovery time. Or is it some severe acute illness, but that's going to pass, or some long-term chronic illness that's going to need a lot of treatment for years or even decades. So of course it depends also on that, like what is the illness and what are the requirements of that illness and its care. And yeah, then the healthcare system, of course, if you're talking about migrant families, like where are they living at the moment, what are their background experience, where they come from, what was healthcare there, what are their expectations, like what have they previously experienced in healthcare, how accessible it was, what was the role of doctors and nurses and other professionals, and if they are already familiar with the local healthcare system, or if it's like really strange how it acts, how you access it, who you meet. For many people, it's really new and surprising thing that nurses have their own independent part in the care. So even that can be really surprising and cause sometimes misunderstandings, that people might feel that they don't get the care they need if they meet the nurses, not the doctors so much. So lots of talking about that too, like what are the care roles in our system, who does what is expected from the family, what is family responsibilities, but also what family can participate, because also migrant families can come from the areas where family is very closely participating in the care all the time, and then it might be surprising that they are not. It's not always possible to be there all the time in our local healthcare. So all those expectations should be discussed, that we both professionals and family members understand the local care system and the roles inside it. Then the family roles, of course, that's also lots of personal things, but also cultural things, that what are those roles in the family, who does what, who takes care of everyday things like feeding and cleaning and driving children there and back home and wherever they are going, who kind of runs those things in the family. So if it's the person who falls ill, whose responsibility it has been to do this everyday home and family things, then there are lots of practical things that just have to be reorganized. Who's going to do all that? You can't just leave them undone. So lots of negotiations, maybe there doesn't happen automatically that somebody steps in and starts doing that, but it has to be like thought, who can do these things? And there are lots of cultural things as well to consider, that what kind of what is considered as normal, what kind of help has been available, where the family came from, and if it's the same here, or do they have some social connections here that could be used as a help and support. So it's also about that resources part, that who can come in, who can help, what is available. Also, the family's idea of what this illness is about affects how family life changes, like cultural and religious thing, how we see illness and health, what causes illness, how can we take care of our health, and how does that happen in the family. All those things need to be discussed as well. So back to that individual thing, that just trying to talk with family members, that how does this affect your family in this situation, in this place? What kind of help do you think you need at this time? It's also about knowledge, sharing knowledge, that we can't expect people who come from other countries to automatically know what kind of help is available locally. So it's also about sharing knowledge, sharing information on that what kind of help they could apply for, and asking what kind of help they can have, like based on their own networks, social connections. It's actually a bit funny that if you have an elderly person, then it's quite routine thing for nurses to assess if they are able to take care of themselves at home, if there's somebody to help. But with younger people, even if the illness or accident makes them quite helpless and vulnerable, still we rarely ask them that, are you going to manage at home? Are you okay with your home things? Who's going to help you at home? But we kind of focus those ideas on elderly people only, not on the younger ones, even if they might be needing help just as much. Then it also quite automatically kind of becomes family thing. We just assume there is a family at the background, and family is going to take care of all those home care things, and to guarantee the patient's safety and continuous care at home, we really should ask those questions, that do you need help? Who do you have at home to help? And even if there are family members, are they really able to help if they have to work long way away from home, or maybe spend traveling long times for work to get the money in? Then again, who's going to run the family things? Who's going to take care of the kids? So lots of these practical things to consider there. Also from children's point of view, like of course how old the children are, how younger children who have very like basic care needs, they're all the time thinking about that who can step in and help with the children. But then with older children, it often happens that the healthy parent, who is of course overwhelmed often with having to take care of everything, and all the worries and fears and all that is affecting them, they often pretty automatically just leave the responsibility for the older kids, that you are old enough to do this, you're old enough to do the cooking things or cleaning things, or you're old enough to take care of your younger siblings. And that's like a normal reaction. There's so many to think about for the healthy spouse, healthy parent, and that it's perfectly natural that you kind of don't stop and think the effects on the kids. But then the risk is that the children have to take too much responsibility, which might then cause some problems for their healthy growing up and development process, if they have to be like in a different role that should be for the children of their age. So there could be lots of role confusion, which might lead to acting up, or then just growing too soon, taking too much responsibility, kind of forgetting to be the kid, but taking the role of a parent too soon. soon. So again, something that is really important to discuss in healthcare, that the parent kind of understands in the middle of all the stress they are experiencing, how this is also affecting the kids. Sometimes parents want to protect the children too much, not to explain what's going on, not to talk about the illness and how it affects their lives. But then children want to know. There are lots of studies about that it's really scary if you don't know, and then you kind of make up things that can be even more scarier than reality. So also sharing the information and discussing with the children is really important to remember. And it's also important to remember that there could be, of course, illness is never a good thing, or accident is never a good thing, but about these negative consequences, it's also important to remember that something good can come out of all those negative and bad things. According to studies, families sometimes feel that this was actually something that brought them together or back together, that there was some threat to the families, and perhaps it actually made the family feel that we can beat this, we can win this thing together, we just pull together and we'll manage as a family. So sometimes the togetherness, the feeling of togetherness, feeling of being us in this family actually strengthens during the illness and recovery time. And then the family feels that it actually made us better. We are a better family. We got through this together. And also for children, even if we have to be careful not to put too much pressure and too much responsibilities on the children, but it can even increase their self-esteem at like some parts, that I can do this, I can take care of these things, I'm okay with this, I can manage, I can help with my family. So also we can think that with right support, with right kind of help, it can also cause these positive family feelings, us being us and winning this thing together, and then doing happy family things. So the hope is always important as well, that when this is over, then we are back to that planning thing, and we can do those happy family things together again.
So what kind of support or assistance would be beneficial for family in a situation like that? Or can you name particular forms of help or support?
Oh, I think it would be really nice to have this kind of a model or process that would help everybody. But again, I think it's more about that personal needs of family and people involved. So I would say it's more just talking and letting the family talk, asking the questions that what is your situation, how are you managing, are you okay with these things, what kind of help would you need, and let them tell you how they experience it, and what kind of help they think they need, because it's so individual and personal thing, and also those cultural things affecting, like again, who does what and what are the expectations and value background there, and back to that knowledge thing as well, that I think big part of professionals here is giving knowledge. There's lots of stress going on anyway, and huge demands in many cases for the families often without any warning, everything happening so soon, suddenly. And it takes a lot of time and effort to find information on like social support things, or financial aids, or just practical things you can get, you are entitled to. For everybody, for anyone, that could be a lot of work to find out, but especially for migrant families, people who have not grown up in our system and have even less knowledge on those things that society can offer. So then giving that information, that you are entitled to get this kind of help, and you can make that kind of application. So very practical things. It can be financial things, money things, but also about this like more emotional support, maybe support groups, or how to get help with the kids in the family. Also rehabilitation things, they might be really something new that the family doesn't have any information about. So I would say just asking, letting the people talk, feeling that they can talk, feeling that they can ask you, and then giving the information, support, and guiding based on what they feel they need.
Yeah, yeah. And also, what do you think about the cooperation between professionals? Are there some good principles or something else?
That's also a really good question, because sometimes we are so kind of focused on our own thing that we forget the multi-professional team that is often needed. So yes, I think it's again sharing the knowledge that we know the people that are involved, the different professionals, different specialties that are needed and involved in the care of this person and the family, and of course good cooperation, sharing information with them, and guiding the family, each member of the family, to help them, that they know who can they contact and how can they find the people that can help them. This is probably something that also is the area of development, that how do we work together from different fields, specialists from different fields, to help the family in the middle of the illness.
Thank you, Riikka. It was a pleasure to have your experiences and thoughts. So thank you.
Thank you. It's great to get to talk about these things. There's so much more to discuss, but hopefully some ideas for you from this part.
Definitely. Thanks.